can see my man in the background, Ted Rall. Ted Rall is a political analyst, cartoonist, syndicated columnist, host of TMI with the great, the one and only Manila Chan. How you doing, Ted? You doing okay this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm not doing bad at all. I am super curious on your take on this. Considering that this is coming out of one of your Congress people, I'm not astonished by it, but I would call it deplorable, to put it mildly. And she has been getting a lot of heat for this, and she has doubled down on this. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, comes out with a bill saying we need to pull $500 million out of Israel. Effectively, these guys are committing a genocide. Why are we giving them all of this money? They have healthcare, they have education, they have all of this stuff. Why are we sending them billions of dollars? So she wanted to pull just only $500 million out of it. They only got 6 votes. 6 votes.
Yeah, because they get $4 billion a year normally. That's not even including their extra genocide allowance.
Yes, thank you. Their extra genocide allowance. I'm glad you called it that, because that's exactly what it is. So one of your Congress people in New York had a certain point of view, voted against the bill, and came out and said, Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment does nothing to cut offensive aid to Israel, nor in the flow of U.S. munitions being used in Gaza, or of course, I voted against it. And I love she, of course I voted against it. Why is that an of course? They're saying, let's pull $500 billion or $500 million out of Israel as they committed genocide. And your response is, of course I voted against it. They didn't cut money to weapons. She says, what it does do is cut defensive Iron Dome capacities while allowing actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. I've long stated that I do not believe that adding to the death count of innocent victims to this war is constructive to that end. That is a simple and clear difference of opinion that is long been established. I love the simple and clear difference. She says, I remain focused on cutting the flow of U.S. munitions that are being used to perpetuate a genocide in Gaza. How weird of a statement is that? I acknowledge that they are committing a genocide. However, I don't want the people who are committing the genocide to also be targeted. And so we need to protect the people who are committing a genocide. And so I'm voting against this bill. It's simple and clear. And the people went after her for it, making the point of saying, so I am a mass shooter, but I don't believe in mass shooting, but I believe in body armor for the mass shooter. Or you can even take it to Germany, right? It's like, well, I mean, I'm not for the Nazis committing a genocide, but I do think the Nazis should be protected as they commit their genocide. What a weird logic that she is running with. Or do you agree with her on this? This seems just bizarre to me.
No, of course I don't agree with her. When someone tells you, and especially a politician says that something is simple and clear, it's never simple or clear. And I mean, in general, if someone has to say what I'm saying is simple and clear, obviously it's not simple or clear. So, look, there's a pretense in corporations and in government that there are discrete pots within, let's say, the Israeli government, that there's the defense weapons pot, and then there's the offensive weapons pot, and that those two things never commingle, and that it's possible to put money into the good pot, but not the bad pot. Now, okay, I don't generally like to compare governments to individuals the way that like conservatives do, like you have to balance your budget.
Right.
Why doesn't the, because that's not true. I mean, I can't mint money, the government can. But in this case, it really is like the governments can and do move funds around. We're seeing it right now with the big, beautiful bill. Funds are being moved out of one place into another, right? Mm-hmm. Happens every day. The Israeli government does the same thing. And also, it stands to reason, and this might be controversial, but if you are Israel and you are bombing the Palestinians in the occupied territories, and you're denying the small amount of, return fire from the Palestinian territories into Israel, yes, you are hurting the Palestinians. You are because the only thing the Palestinian resistance has, the only thing they've got going for them is weapons, right? They don't have very many weapons. They don't have enough weapons, and they're way out-armed and outclassed by the IDF. But they can fight back and kill the occasional Israeli. That is going to, of course, deaths are bad on both sides of the war, but that's probably one of the few things that may cause a shift in public opinion in Israel. Is like, if they pay a price also from time to time, there will be a reduction in support. We know this from the Vietnam War. If the Vietnamese had never, we killed 2 million of them. They killed 48,000 of ours. They say 58,000, but 10,000 of those 58,000 died in car accidents. So you can't really attribute that to basically so 48,000 combat deaths, right? So obviously, if the part of the reason that the Vietnam War came to an end was because Americans saw their sons coming home in body bags, and it was like a problem for them. So obviously, in a war, if you help one side, it's sort of like in personal finance. If I say, hey, listen, I can't pay my rent this month, Jamal. Can you do me a solid and send me the money I can pay my rent? Well, and I say, and obviously that makes it easier for me to now pay my cable bill.
Right.
Okay. So yes, support is support. Lack of support is lack of support. And it's sophistry to say that, I want the Israelis protected. It's just like, your analogies are correct. It's sort of like, I don't want it would be bad for death camp guards to fall off watchtowers and die.
Yeah.
So we're going to pay for like a protective thing for them, a little fence around that. Well, you're helping the infrastructure. You're helping them. And I'm going to go further here. Let's just say you decided to help them, not with weapons at all. Just say something else, like something to improve their international credit rating. You're contributing to the genocide. If you buy, Israeli hummus, you're contributing to the genocide. Anything that goes from you to Israel benefits the Israeli government and contributes to genocide. That's just economics. That's not emotional. And that, AOC, is simple and clear.
Yeah, I'd be more brutal. I don't care if a Nazi dies. I don't care if an Israeli soldier gets killed. Why would I care? They're literally out there murdering and starving people. I can show you videos of people who are literally dying on their feet of starvation. And AOC is making this argument like, ooh, it's impolite to not assist the people who are committing a genocide. That is outrageous. What a trash.
I care when it's a liberal Israeli who's out in the streets protesting the war, protesting Netanyahu, trying to make change, and they get their apartment blown up. That sucks. It really does.
Few and far between.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at the polling of the people who agree with this, you're talking about like 80% of the population that says, yes, we are perfectly okay with exterminating every man, woman, child, dog, cat, baby that is effectively in Gaza. When they showed the rape that took place in the prison, where they raped the guy on camera, and you got 60% of Israelis saying, we approve of that, we're okay with that. And you got even people going to rescue some of those guys out of the prison. Okay, that's outrageous. That's a societal issue at that point. That's not like,
No, I agree with that. I think that I think when a government, particularly, a democracy, which Israel is, for some people.
Yeah, for some. Fair enough.
It's an apartheid democracy. But like for the people who are responsible for this regime, right? The concept of post-World War II collective guilt is relevant. Basically, the whole German people were deemed to be guilty, and they lived under a totalitarian dictatorship, right? Yes. Where it was very dangerous to oppose the state. Ask Sophie Scholl. Very dangerous. But still, it was expected that the German people had an ethical and moral responsibility to the world to take note of what their government was doing to the rest of Europe and to the Jews and other disadvantaged minorities, and to overthrow the government. I would argue that the Israeli government, a long time ago, passed that threshold where it is reasonable for the rest of the world to expect the Israeli people to rise up and violently overthrow the government of Israel, and in order to stop it what it's doing. And by the way, lest you were watching this as a Zionist and you think that that's unreasonable, Zionists are constantly arguing that the people of Palestine in the Gaza Strip ought to overthrow Hamas, and that they're all collectively guilty because they don't do that. Well, I'm going to argue that the people of Israel are in a far better position to overthrow their government than the people of Gaza are to overthrow the government of Hamas. I mean, first of all, is ordinary Israeli citizens are often armed to the teeth because they are conscripts and they have Uzis in their homes. That's not true about people in Gaza. Also, people in Israel have eaten lately. That's not true about the people of Gaza. It's hard to start a revolution when you can't eat or drink water. And so it's not to mention Hamas is not in power through any democratic means, right? I mean, they seized power in a violent coup. The Israeli government was elected repeatedly. And in fact, every time there's an election, it keeps moving further to the right and more genocidal. So, I mean, it's not unfair to say, overall, the majority of Israeli citizens, certainly not all, but the majority are repeatedly deciding to endorse these policies. And so it's not unreasonable to say, like, look, like they used to say in the 80s, check yourself, right? I mean, like, take care, clean up your business, clean up your government, get rid of them.
Just to be clear, though, Hamas didn't steal power in a coup. They just never had another election after they won the election.
Well, there was a violent clash, right? I mean, they won an election, and then there was a attempt, and then they basically had a violent. There were gunfights between them and Fatah.
Yeah. Yes.
So I would call that a coup, right? It's as if January 6th had worked, right? And so they remained, like Trump had remained in power without, if he had remained in power for a second term, that he had not really won. That's what Hamas did.
But there was no way to know that
they didn't win the election.
Yeah, but there was no way to know that Fatah would have won that election.
Right. No, we don't know. But the point is, I think we can say by international standards, it was not transparent, free. It wasn't considered a legitimate election. I think you can fairly say that the people of of Gaza also haven't had an election in many, many, many years.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that part. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a fact. So, I mean, and, think about like what a disproportionately high percentage of the population of Gaza is young, right? So most of those people, anyone under, I don't know what the voting age is in Gaza. Let's assume it's 18, right? But the vast majority of people who are in Gaza today don't remember an election,
No, I agree with that part. I take issue with the violent coup. A coup indicates that the other party would have won, and Fatah is hated at this point.
I think that's right. Right. But it's illegitimate to use, it's considered illegitimate to use violence in a democratic process, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
It would be like if Mayor Adams used violence to stop Mamdani from winning or something. It's like, well, he was going to lose. Right? Mamdani used violence to stop Adams. Adams was not going to win. Mamdani was going to win, but it's not legitimate.
Yeah, it's complicated, I suppose. AOC doubled down on this because, again, she was getting a lot of heat on this, where people were just
they're breathing down her neck. I mean, her district includes a whole ton, the biggest Orthodox Jewish community in the United States, right? I mean,
I don't care.
But
I don't care.
And by the way, she shouldn't care either because she's going to cruise to re-election without them. She doesn't need them.
Well, she comes back and she says, Google is free. If you're saying that I voted for military funding, you're lying, receipts attached. Okay, well, you did vote for military funding. Because if you're making the argument that, look, we're trying to cut $500 million from Israel, and you're voting, well, no, I don't want to do that. I want to maintain funding. Then you are given $500 million more dollars than would have been given if you would have voted for the amendment. But it gets worse. She says, drag me for my position all you want, but lying about them doesn't make you part of the left, quote unquote, meaning acting as if she is the bellwether for what the left is. And then she says, if you believe neo-Nazis are welcome and operating in good faith, you can have them. So it sounds like she's trying to say Marjorie Taylor Greene is a neo-Nazi and that she's putting the bill out for some other alternative reason. And because of that, that she doesn't want to vote for it by definition. I find that to be outrageous, considering Rashida Tlaib voted for this bill. Who's the other woman? I can't think of her name. Ilhan Omar voted for this. Like, meaning she is effectively saying that the people who are voting for this on some level are associated with neo-Nazis, even though she
and
is.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a neo-Nazi. I'm sorry.
No, she's not.
She's
not.
Honestly, she should sue AOC for libel. I would. That kind of rhetoric you just shouldn't tolerate. I mean, sorry. And
it's outrageous.
It is. I mean, look, AOC is this is the same chip that made her vote for Nancy Pelosi, right? I mean, look, I get the whole point is like, look, she has pressure on her. She's got pressure from both sides. I have much less respect for someone without integrity when they really don't have any real good reason to do what they're doing. I mean, I don't really think any major Zionists are donating money to AOC anyway, right? She's just trying to get the heat off. And it's like, what's the point? Molly Ivins, dance with them that brung you. Like, it's the progressives who brought you. And by the way, these things are complicated, right? There's that whole faction of the Hasidim who are opposed to the state of Israel. And they're not insignificant. And that's part of the people who vote for her. So, I mean, the point is, she's very popular in her district. She's not going to be primaried out. She's not going to lose her seat. This is about sucking up to the leadership. This is about sucking up to Hakeem Jeffries, and those people. And also, I got to say what this is really about is in the background of the Mamdani situation, which is.
Oh, really? You think so?
Oh, that's what I think this is about. When I first read this story, I was like, oh, this is about Mamdani. I mean, basically, it's a five-alarm fire among the ruling classes in New York City. They think Mamdani is going to destroy the real estate industry. They destroy the stock market, ruin everything that makes the city great, and that's why all this money has gone to Adams. And hilariously, the more money goes to Adams, the worse he does. I mean, literally, Curtis Sliwa has radically surpassed. He's got twice the popularity now of Adams.
Wow.
I mean, he's a marginal candidate in a Democratic city. So it's like, and again, I like Curtis Sliwa as a person. I've met him. I like him. I think he's a good person. I don't agree with his politics, but I think he means well. So, this is what she's seeing what's going on with Mamdani, and she's terrified of being attached to that. It's like, but listen, like it or not, you ran AOC as the Democratic Socialist, and like, well, you're it. Whether you like it or not, no one's going to believe otherwise, right? Sucking up to the right-wing Zionists is not going to get you anything. So you're just you're selling yourself out for nothing. That's stupid.
Oh, that's such a good point, Ted. I didn't even make the connection with Mamdani. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, sucking up to the leadership. Hakeem Jeffries is one of the weirdest, no charisma people that they could ever put into. Like, he just is. Every time I say it, it's a complete turnoff to me. Like, it's like I have a hard time even watching him. It's so bizarre. He's like radioactive.
Yeah, and, like when you feel the presence of another human being in a room. Like, let's say you're in a room and like someone's behind you and you just sense it, even if they don't make a sound. I bet Hakeem Jeffries doesn't do that. I bet you wouldn't feel him there. He could walk. It's like the difference between being him in the room and not being in the room is zero.
See, I thought you were going to say the opposite, that you just feel like this cold, clammy sense of darkness or something.
There's any number of other politicians I would say that about. Hillary Clinton. But
no.
Yeah,
just darkness. This is Jeffries, and they asked him basically, hey, Mamdani is in your district, bro. How are you a Democrat and you're not backing the Democrat that won the primary?
What kind of message do you think it sends to voters in your party that you have still not endorsed the party nominee for mayor in your home city, in your home state?
We had a constructive and a candid and a community-centered meeting that lasted for over an hour on Friday, and we agreed at that meeting to reconvene upon his return back into the country.
What? You had a meeting and you are going to reconvene for another meeting when he gets back into the country. Dude, that
What's he talking about?
they asked him point blank, what does it look like to the other constituents in the Democratic Party that you haven't basically endorsed the Democrat that is in your district? And that was his answer. I'll play it again for you. I mean, the answer makes no sense. He's like, yeah, we had a meeting, we talked, and we'll talk again when he gets back. Okay, what are you talking about for an hour? You either endorse God, you don't.
What kind of message you could send to voters in your party that you have still not endorsed the nominee for mayor in your home city, in your home state?
We're going to conduct a candid, a community-centered meeting that lasted for over an hour on Friday, and we agreed at that meeting to reconvene upon his return.
I don't know what a community-centered meeting is, and I don't know.
No one knows what that means.
I have no idea what he's talking
Oh,
about.
but I mean, look, we're forced. This is like Kremlinology, right? We're forced to try to figure out what Izvestia means. What it's really saying about Comrade Brezhnev. And I think community-centered is code for Zionist. I think it's basically the hour meeting, and what he's saying is basically I'm negotiating with Mamdani.
That's what it sounds like.
And I'm telling him what he's going to have to do, what hoops he's going to have to jump through, how loud he's going to have to bark like a dog in order to get my endorsement. That's, I think, what that is, right? Don't you think?
What I honest to God hope is that Mamdani has those meetings, come back and says, this is what they wanted me to do, and I'm telling them to F off. And I would wager to you his polling is going to go through the roof.
I don't think at this point, I don't think that Jeffrey, it's like this. So much time has gone by now. If I'm Mamdani, I'm like, Zoman, if you're watching us here, right? Like, at this point, the endorsement doesn't do you any good. Who fucking cares? You needed it the day of the election, maybe 24 hours later, 48 on the outside. Now it's too late. The ship has sailed. Even if they endorse you, everyone's going to know that it came late. This is like, your Fresh Direct got delivered 2 weeks late, and now all the milk is spoiled. It's just not. It's useless now. It's like, just don't don't even you don't need it now. You're like what 80% in the polls. I mean, just fucking amble. Just don't be a pedophile. Don't do anything strange. Just fucking amble into Gracie Mansion. You're in.
But does it even help?
His best friend is Andrew Cuomo. I just want to.
Who? Oh, Hakeem Jeffries.
No, Mamdani's.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I think so. In 1912. Right, Theodore Roosevelt was a former president, and he was pissed off at Taft, who had been his mentor, for not being progressive enough. So, out of spite, he ran as an independent, knowing he'd split the Republican vote, leading to Wilson's victory in 1912. That's what Cuomo's doing. Cuomo is pissed off at Adams and at the powers that be. He's running to split the anti-Mamdani vote. This is like, he knows he's not going to win, but he knows he doesn't. But he knows all the money is now with Adams. It shifted from the primary from him over to Adams. That's why he's running. This is a spite candidacy. It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, the spite coffee shop. It's like that. It's like it's exact. And so, and Cuomo really truly deserves a job in the Mamdani administration, and there may be one. Because he helped him out. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a quid pro quo. I mean, truly. I mean, if you just look at the statistics. I mean, I think Mamdani's going to win no matter what these rich assholes do. But the point is, because he's so far ahead. But let's just say somehow you could light a fire under Adams. Well, Adams is the only. It would be all the money's there, but not with Cuomo in the way. I mean. That's just not going to happen. So it's like
Cuomo said he's going to leave. Well, Cuomo said he's going to leave New York if Mamdani wins. He's like, I'm out of here. If Mamdani wins, I'm out.
Well, I think a lot of people are looking to leave New York, but not because of Mamdani, just because there's fucking excrement on every subway car.
Oh, that is grotesque. That is
Yeah.
so disgusting. Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. So you really think he would win this? So far, he is. I don't want to say so.
Unless there's a scandal, right? Unless they find out something terrible about him. I mean, we already know everything terrible there is to know about Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo. So I think this race is baked in solid, and the irony is that the billionaire class, endorsing Adams has. I mean, think about the optics from really. I mean, Adams has a major problem because it's like, okay, well, yeah, you need money to run a campaign, especially when you're at 9%. But like take his biggest problem is he's corrupt. And
Right.
so he's like, it doesn't really make him not look corrupt to take money from,
Right.
Michael Bloomberg and people like that, right? It just doesn't. It's not like he's a small donation populist dude, or he's passing the collection plate like, at the Zionist AME church. None of these things are true. So he can't win. There's no way.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. Corrupt man takes a huge amount of money. It just looks horrible, right?
Adams has no lane. The lane would have had to have been, I'm new and improved, and I'm like a man of the people somehow. Remember when I was in 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, I was a good guy. I'm still that good guy, and I'm out fighting for the vote. Like Eric Adams would have to be like on the subway every day, like shaking hands, talking to people.
He's not that guy.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's not that guy.
Probably not, but that's the only like Hail Mary, right? There's no other way. He's not, and that's not his campaign. He's running the billionaire campaign, which is, and it's so hilarious because the more he does that, the more people hate him. So that's not getting him anything. No one's like, oh, well, if Michael Bloomberg likes him,
Yeah.
After those racist Mamdani ads that Bloomberg funded, are you kidding me? Like, they darkened his skin. They like the Time magazine did to OJ. They
increase his beard or something.
This is Mamdani's a dude who wore a suit into the ocean, into the polar bear swim. He wore a suit. Okay, so he wears a suit all the time. I mean, he may sleep in a suit, and so the one time he's in like I forget what that thing is called, the Indian.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And one time, like he was at a wedding or something, and he's photo. So man, that Bloomberg had that picture all over the place, right? And by the way, good luck selling racism in New York. We're not scared of people who have funny foreign outfits.
Right.
We see them all the time. That's my deli guy. I'm not scared of him.
Ted Rall, and God, Lord knows that man's wife is. I want to be just so I can see his wife on campaign trail. Ted Rall, political cartoonist, syndicated columnist, host of TMI with the one and only Manila Chan. Ted, man, thank you for this. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Good luck. Have a good rest of the show. See you later.
Oh, thanks, man. Be safe.